Hello and welcome to 68 Cups of Blueberry Tea with your host, Gabrielle Knipe. Going to the theatre has always been a very special experience for me, something that I love attending with my sister and parents, predominantly for musicals, but the passion for theatre has continued here in Canberra when the powerhouse of Lexi Sekuless productions came to life. Theatre going has not yet recovered since the COVID pandemic, given the numerous streaming services that we have at our fingertips. But Canberra actor and producer Lexi Sekuless is indefatigable and inspirational. She gets knocked down, but she hasn't lost her powerful voice and drive as an independent theatre owner. And her passion to fight for the foot soldiers is admirable. Tune in for some behind-the-scene insight into the theatre realm.
Alrighty, so here I am at the Mill Theatre out on Fishwick's Dairy Road precinct with Lexi Sekuless. Lexi, thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for coming here and bringing your setup and doing this interview. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes. So I'm going to start off with a new thing that I'm trying, and from my previous podcast to have them ask a question for the next one. And so my previous podcast was with a friend of mine, Leah, who just self-published a novel called The Daughters of Diel.
Cool.
And her question for you is, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
All of last year was a year of firsts for me. So much so that I often have just a running Word doc, but I have it in Google. It's kind of like kind of an online to-do list. But in the, I only deleted it the other day because I'm out now in the second year. I had in the header, remember it was always going to be a year of firsts. So yeah, pretty much everything in relation to last year being the first year of the Mill. It was my first time doing a program. I picked a program of plays because I'm used to just being a jobbing actor. Mostly I'm used to the phone ringing or me hustling to try to get a job. And that's only just kind of one job or one project. But I had to think about doing an entire year. So thinking that way was the first time programming play after play after play, me being the one picking the plays. I also did my first time doing a revival of an Australian work, which I had always wanted to do. That show was also the first time it was like the biggest budget. So that was the first time it was like, wow, okay, this is, and I said to the company, I don't know if I shared with them that it was my first time doing something this big, but it was, kind of privately and just to my inner circle, I shared that I was hoping that I would be able to pull it off. And I knew I would learn a lot if I didn't pull it off, but I did pull it off. So that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of that question from your previous podcast interviewee.
Well, what was the Australian story that you did produce?
It's a play called Good Works by Nick Enright. Most people haven't heard of Nick Enright, but they would know his work. So he wrote the book for the musical The Boy from Oz. He's worked on lots of great Australian works. He very sadly passed away. He passed away definitely well before his time. He was a phenomenal Australian playwright, and Good Works is about really what the next generation does, or what one generation does to the next generation. It investigates a lot about the institution that is the Catholic Church and what is good and what is right. But mostly it's about families in Australia from post-World War to through to the 80s. And I always felt that the strongest theme was what one generation does to the next. And for the most part, by that I mean, and what the show presented is how we bugger up our children, thinking that we are doing good. So yeah, that was that play.
Mm-hmm. And were you pleased with it?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. I mean, super complicated text. but had the biggest set. It was the first time here in the mill that we had like a real set installation and a real set build. And that was beautiful, absolutely stunning set. And the quality of the show, when I knew that I could pull off something that really was of a national standard, then I certainly felt very proud. It was tough, like really tough, because that's the thing, to go to that question. When something's the first time, first of all, just practically it takes longer. And then there are more feelings involved, and I have lots of feelings, like lots of creative people do, and sometimes the volume is up very high. And you have to be careful that you don't, that you don't let the volume be turned up too high. But all those feelings, they take up time. And then, of course, remember, it was taking up time because it's the first time you've ever done it. And so then you can get stuck in a bit of a loop of potential failure. That's probably the most difficult thing about firsts. And then you need, perseverance and empathy, I think. Yes, they're probably good ways to deal with firsts.
Perseverance and empathy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how does Mill Theatre operate?
So the Mill Theatre operates as a venue here in the ACT. It's a producing venue. As a producing venue, as opposed to in Australia, you're either a producing venue or the other venues, they call themselves presenting venues, which is really a sneaky code for just being a receiving house. And by that I mean they're just venues for hire and they receive somebody else's shows. They all think that's a very dirty word and they like to pretend that they don't do that, and they pretend that they produce by having this little name called presenting house. I think it's all fibs, and they should just accept what they actually are, and I think we would have a healthier industry and a healthy ecosystem if they did that. But anyway, we can talk about that later, no doubt. So we rehearse the work here and we build it and we produce it. I am the producer, and when I started it, I wanted it to be really clear that there's the venue, but then there's me as a producer, because I would really like other people and other shows and other producers to feel that they can come in here and use this space. And we just had the first, I'm going to keep remembering that the whole time now, the first and the biggest co-production, which was two fantastic Canberra creatives coming in, and they wanted to do a very, very remarkable and disturbing play called The Cut by Mark Ravenhill, and they did it as a co-production here. So their show, but they were here and got to use this space. So I produce my own stuff, and the mill produces work with others. So the door is open and other people can do work and put work on here. It operates really as one of the only private enterprise venues of its kind in the ACT. So I'm not a not-for-profit, I'm a proprietary limited, I'm a producer, and selling tickets and making money is the goal. But I really do it in partnership with the Monroe group and the Efkapides family, who built the theatre, and provide support through the way that I stay here at Dairy Road. And then there's another company, Elite Event Technology, who support the venue and support the work through the gear and the technology and the fixtures that they provide, everything you see up in the ceiling. And we've got amazing custom-made bars up in the ceiling from Elite, which is amazing. So I guess I'm the one on the ground, but it's those partnerships that are really important. And then just a couple of months ago, I got a principal sponsor in Willard Public Affairs, and that support is specifically for the program. So that is really, really phenomenal funding support for the day-to-day stuff. For the designers who are coming in. Another way to answer the question, I guess, is that people are engaged per show. And so I engage people to fill out the production team, and I engage people to be actors. To get straight to it, if I had more funding, I would, and my goal had always been to copy the funding model of Red Stitch in Melbourne. And at Red Stitch, it's a company of actors and performers, and people work part-time, and they're all given the same flat fee of $5,000 to $6,000 a show. And because that's not a weekly salaried amount, the rehearsal schedules are done part-time so that people can go and take other jobs. That's definitely my goal. First of all, parity pay, so everyone is paid the same amount. I think that's fair and reasonable. And then the ability for everybody to be paid, but keeping that part-time element, because here in the ACT it's quite a small market, and we're still a small city, and our creative industries is pretty small. So I have a goal for it to be at that, and I'm like, I don't know, halfway there, maybe 60% of the way there. No, maybe only 50% of the way there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what is the extra push that you need to see it through?
Dollars, which either comes through increased box office revenue, or government subsidy. So it really just is revenue. That's it. Mm-hmm. I don't believe. I think too many companies. And I know this might kind of get me some enemies, but it's incredibly hard for everyone on a show to be getting the industry standard of $1,200 a week. You can only do that if you receive significant government subsidy. I think the Red Stitch model is fantastic. It's approved by the union, and I think a city like Canberra really needs to look to a model like that.
Well, you were saying to me earlier that since COVID, theatre just hasn't been able to recover as to what it was before. Mm. Do you see that being able to change if you were able to get these extra subsidies?
So I don't mean to sound too doom and gloom, but we are, so how many years? We're nearly 2 years out or away from the pandemic, and there has been no real significant change. I think audience numbers will only change like in 10 years from now, just because of a kind of, sort of other natural cycles. I know that the industry, and I know Creative Australia do a good audience monitor report, and they certainly were trying to be positive in that, and everyone is saying, audiences will come back, and we need to try to get them to come back, and we do. Gabby, people are settled. People are settled in their habits now. For 3 years, they couldn't go to live events, and yet they could get lots and lots of stuff very quickly at home on their laptops.
Through streaming services.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so there won't be a significant shift anytime soon.
It's just my opinion. That's just and I actually think it's better to be realistic about that and adjust accordingly. Mm-hmm. Most of the main stage companies adjust by only doing one-person shows, so they're engaging less creatives and hiring less creatives, the actual makers. I think that's abominable, like really, really not okay. I think that it was really incumbent on the federal government actually to think of ways to manage what this time would be like. How could everyone survive this time? So there was a flood of measures, heaps of stuff going on in the pandemic proper. And now is the time though, not for national plans of, which is a hell of a lot of words and ideas, over 150-page document, and then just creating a great bigger agency in Sydney and changing its name. That has not been helpful at all in any way whatsoever at all. But the arts administrators and the arts bureaucrats kind of pat themselves on the back. Then you've got the actual makers struggling. We have Critical Stages, an amazing national touring company, gone. Squabble-Logic, an amazing New South Wales independent musical theatre company, gone. There will be, I think, and the trouble that Queensland Ballet is in, the trouble that Bell is in, the trouble that Sydney Theatre Company is in, I think there will be other unfortunate closures which are going to happen because that box office revenue isn't there.
Well, even for you, because as a small theatre, you can seat 71 people in your audience. Is that right?
Yes, it was 67, just a tiny little 67. Once upon, at the very beginning, I was hoping it would be 71. That was the goal, Gabby. And then the builders, I remember when they came in, there was a really sad face. They're like, Lexi, we're really sorry, but it's going to go down to 67. And I was like, no! But yes, a small, very small number.
Yes, so it won't be possible really to increase revenue personally, like through the theatre itself, right?
That's true. Yeah, because of course I'm always at a cap of 67. But Gabby, I'm not selling out every show. Mm-hmm. I have a few sellouts. I had one show that did particularly well, and it did particularly well because I'd actually changed the seating configuration and it went down to 42. So I know I can sell 40 for a season. I know I can, but I can't sell that additional like 20 odd. And everyone is finding this. Everyone is finding this. It's across the board. Definitely in Canberra and nationally. Joseph and his Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was supposed to do an extensive tour. They just couldn't, not strong enough pre-sales, closed. Rocky Horror didn't come to Canberra, and that was all done very quietly, and no one wanted to say anything and no one wanted to comment, but it's because they weren't selling enough tickets, so they just didn't even do that leg of the tour.
Why Canberra in particular? Why are we lacking that enthusiasm for theatre?
I don't think we're lacking it any more than anywhere else, but I do think, and this is definitely just a Lexi personal view, with the number of with either the number of actual public servants we have and or our proximity that to government that any other industry and anyone living here has, any economic rumblings Canberrans are particularly sensitive to. I reckon any restaurant, anyone in the hospitality industry would say something similar to you. I mean, they all know when it's public service payday. They definitely do, because it changes. It changes the flow of their week. So when the Treasurer is about to do an announcement, when anything is happening or isn't happening with in relation to the RBA, I think Canberrans are acutely aware of it. And it's one of the kind of magical things about our city. But it certainly means that, will there be a recession comments or worries about that? I think we are pretty good as a city at, tightening and not, they're not going out. I think it's because people are talking about it. More Canberrans, I reckon, are talking about that. Either because it's actually their job, or the people at their job at the hairdresser are saying it's going to be bad times, and then the hairdresser passes that on, and then when they go and get a coffee, it just gets spread around Canberra really quickly, I reckon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I have no actual evidence for that, Gabby. No actual evidence whatsoever at all.
But it seems that it's, I can recognise what you're saying as well. It is a very Canberra thing, definitely.
Yeah. And you'd have either someone who's done a secondment at Treasury, or people at Treasury or in the finance department. I'm not saying people are running around saying cabinet in confidence stuff. I'm not saying that. It's just that we just have proximity to it. I reckon a similar thing happens in Washington. I'm sure. Yeah. It's just that proximity, which I actually think should be promoted more, and is really cool and special. A lot of people poo-poo it. I think it makes us super unique and a super interesting city. Yeah.
Well, speaking before of your 67 people that you can allow for within the audience.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you? Because you are not just the producer, but you like to be involved and still be acting yourself.
Yeah, yes.
How does that feel having such an intimate setting? Because you think of theatre and you think someone far away and on the stage and your audience out there. But then to have such an intimate setting, how does that feel for you being on the stage?
Well, I love it. And pretty much every actor who comes here, they've either already experienced something this intimate and are hungry for it again, or they go through a process of saying, gosh, this is going to be intimate, you know, and that's what they like in rehearsals. And they're like, you mean they're going to be like right there? And you always have in rehearsals the conversation about audiences' feet, which I absolutely love, which is this actors they're concerned about the intimacy. That's what they're concerned about. They're worried that the audience is that close, and then they all start saying, what about their feet? What about their feet? Aren't we going to trip over their feet? And that's usually a sign that the actors are a bit nervous. And so you need to say a few things to try and get them to feel confident with that proximity. Practically, it's a super important selling point of the venue. And I think, Gabby, this type of stuff is the only way that theatre will survive, because this is as opposite an experience from what you get on your laptop at home as possible. So this stuff amplifies the liveness of live events. Because it's an L, there's something else that happens, and audience can see the other audience. And sometimes I joke, so audience can't even pick their nose during a show. They'll be seen. And what theatre has over the screen industry, and there's a wonderful former Canberra, he lives in Melbourne now, a guy called Ian Sinclair first said this to me. When you come to the theatre and it's empty, you instinctively know that that's not right, because we know that it is a communal experience. When you go to the cinema and it's empty, you don't mind at all. That's a private consumption. And the communal consumption of theatre goes back to when it very, very first started and was connected to religious festivals, which is also a communal experience. So it amplifies that. That's what these tiny little spaces do. And there's lots of them around. There's lots and lots of them around the country. And we do have a couple of other black box studios here in Canberra. But the idea of the L was basically to turn the volume up on that even more and amplify that intimacy.
Yeah, because it really does make it an experience, especially being in amongst the drama and the different settings and the scenes. And yes, I understand where you're coming from.
And when you repurpose a space as well, as the mill is repurposed, it also will sometimes force you to have interesting entrance points. So here there's only one point of egress and ingress, and then though that means that the audience walk onto the set when they come in, which also adds to that intimacy. So we try to make sure that the space looks as different as possible. So you popped in earlier and you saw the wonderful Kathleen Kershaw doing some scenic work, and that is making the entire mill look completely different. And we're also doing this setup. We're actually going to increase it and go in the round. So that audience experience, as soon as you step in, you're in amongst it. All of this is just adding to the liveness of the live experience.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Well, can you take me back to how it all began for you? In particular, when you were in London at the Central School of Speech and Drama, and the stage productions that you were involved while you were there.
It feels like eons ago. I sort of like love-hated drama school, and I do think that is the way it should be, because someone once said, did you enjoy drama school? And I recall saying, I think if you enjoyed it, then you weren't fully participating, because all conservatoire training is one of the most demanding times of your life, and you are learning how you are the instrument. So it's not like learning the trombone or the piano, where that's you in concert with another thing, and you get to learn about that key, and that you're just learning about you. So that intensity is difficult, but it is very special to have 3 years of your life doing show after show, voice class every day, story after story, technique after technique. And do you know what, Gabby? I think I love that. Hated it. so much that the way that I make everything technique based here at the mill, and the way that I always attach one-to-one either verse coaching or voice coaching to every show, I've realized that, and I did write to one of my teachers a little while ago saying that in many ways that the investigation of the craft I loved so much, and that's what I still want and still enjoy, because it is a job. And at drama school you learn how it is a job. You learn what your tools are. You learn you learn all the possible tools. You learn all the possible notes on your piano, and you learn, you are stretched so that you're not only playing, to torture a metaphor, so that you're not only playing one octave, you're playing all 8 that are in you. But in order to learn that, you've got people telling you and giving you this constant feedback, and that can seem very, very overwhelming. Very, very overwhelming. And afterwards, I guess sometimes I mean, look, I had a couple of good gigs, but it can be hard afterwards, Gabby, because you were working all the time, and then you are waiting for the phone to ring. And you get on a treadmill, especially if you just do actor training, as I did. You get on this industry treadmill of, you have an agent, and the agent is contacting casting directors, and the phrase is waiting for the phone to ring. But you really do. You feel like you're just on this treadmill, and you just want it to go faster. And you get sad when you didn't book a job, or you get sad if you don't even get an audition. But the quality of the work and the volume of the work in the UK is astounding, and the spaces, the spaces are phenomenal. It's actually, so one of the great gigs I got. Jason Isaacs went to Central, and I did this industry presentation, like half show, half, I don't know what it was. It was this incredibly wealthy family trying to get a show on at the West End, basically. It was with Jason Isaacs, Tamsin Gregg, and Miriam Margulies, and Gemma Redgrave, and I was the young Gemma Redgrave. And one time I had to fill in for Tamsin Gregg, and it meant I got to be on stage with Jason Isaacs, and I'm pretty sure I was terrible, because in my mind I was like, I must say Jason Isaacs, he's so good. I'm pretty sure I was woeful. But he went to Central, and my head of course was saying, could you please try and get him to come in and talk? I was a bit miffed, because I thought, why don't I get to come in and talk? Because anyway. Jason refused, but he said something that took me way too long to learn. He said, all I could tell you is this: with your friends, get a camera and just make stuff. And then he was like, and that's it. And then he's like, goes off and back to the tea table. And I was like, okay. And he was right that you can't let yourself be stuck on the treadmill and wait for the phone to ring.
Okay.
But when you just do that kind of traditional conservatoire training, you learn so much technique, but then the kind of like business part of it, or how you survive afterwards, drama school can't really help with that. or maybe they can and they could do it better, or maybe not. I don't know. But it is difficult because you're so occupied, and then you're so not.
No in between.
No.
Well, I mean, although now you get to be producing and acting, you do get to be doing the chasing and the waiting.
Yeah, I know. I do like that. I do like that. I do like that. Being the one making the calls and sending the emails. That's really cool. Like, very cool. My other, like me as a jobbing actor, quite a bit of that stuff has dried up because I don't really have the time, and also people assume correctly that I don't have the time, and they also just assume that I might not be interested. But I do enjoy them when I do get to be on someone else's project and I'm just an actor at a photo shoot, or I'm just doing a voiceover and someone else I can see them all running around doing it, and I was like, yeah, so nice. I'm not this time. I'm just being the actor, and I see it like, oh, poor souls, but I at other times I'm running around being that person,
being that poor sod,
being that exactly, yeah. But it is wonderful to be able to. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
All good.
Someone's testing a microphone somewhere. It is wonderful and pretty special, very special, to be able to be the one, like, instigating something from the very beginning, and also just a little bit personal, a little bit personal, a little bit professional development stuff. I've either been in the industry waiting for the phone to ring, or been on the floor and seeing, everyone's very unhappy, or why are they doing it like that, or that's a terrible idea. Or I've been in policy and politics areas where I see leaders not leading or it not going very well. So a part of why it's amazing being the one making the calls is because I'm exercising and testing. I didn't think very much of person A, B, and C because of X, Y, and Z. And so now I am trying on for size. Right, okay, well, what's a good way to do it then? Like, what does that look like, and what does that take? And that's probably the coolest thing, because there's nowhere else, and I'm probably going to get emotional about this, to be able to have that type of professional development. And it's very hard, but it's very special. Where else could I have learnt and tried on for size? Right, if you're going to lead people, you should probably have values and test your own integrity and ask integrity of others. And there are not many ways and experiences in life where you get to, like, really, really test your ideas. And that is very special. So that's why I get emotional about it.
So you are always testing new things. So do you feel like you're always testing yourself, putting yourself out there, constantly trying new things and seeing what you can get out of people and what you can give to people?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're trying to assess and manage with respect. What are they capable of? What do they want? Are they reaching what they want? Are they doing it in the right way? And trying to carefully offer up, in your own opinion, what is the best way? Could they change, or should they change? And how can you ask that of them? How can you create an environment where that could happen? That's for people, and then it's the combination of people in that cocktail, which of course will then make a show and a production. And that stuff is, every person, you've got a different assessment, and like, try this way, and when it goes well, it's ace. And when it doesn't, it's difficult.
So is this your way of tackling what Jason Isaacs, the advice that he gave, to make sure that you're just the one taking the action rather than just waiting?
Yes, exactly. Yes. That's it. Yeah. But that was like, that would have been, I don't know, 15 15 years ago or something. So yeah, it just took me forever. I don't know, maybe I'll find him on socials and send. I probably should. That's a good idea. Thank you, Gabby. I'm gonna do that.
I love it. Well, I guess one of the things maybe that started it was Lakespeare and Co.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that one all about?
Well, that was like a little, the first step, or a baby version, or a once a year version of all of this. And there were some other, definitely some other people and other brains behind it. So, and it started, as a little group. And within that group, I was also able to realize, oh gosh, I can actually do it myself. But being able to start with something and copying a model from New York's Shakespeare in the Park, and copying that model, that was the idea of Tamus Werner Gibbings. And then a lot of the text work and the text considerations I did with a lovely professor here in Canberra, professor and performer, Dr. Duncan Driver. And then the logistics and the planning of things I did with Paul Leverins. So those people, that group really started all of that. But the ideas of leadership and the ideas of how to lead start with technique and make everything technique based. And I brought a couple of people, a lovely Shakespearean actor called Chris Stollery, who I knew very much led with the verse. Used that as this once a year thing to test out, test that stuff out, and sort of began to realize, I was like, cool, okay, I did that bit and I did that bit and that bit too. So, and realizing that I could probably do it. And, in terms of just female visibility and my own sense of kind of empowerment as well, it was important that I then did something that had my name attached to it. And we have in Australia, producers, but there are lots of male producers really, and that Michael Castle group is named after Michael Castle, and the Paul Dainty group is named after Paul Dainty, John Frost and Gordon Frost. So that's why I wanted to then, the next thing, certainly being more of a full-time effort, but I did also want it to have, my name attached to that, so that I was really engaging in the confidence that sometimes a lot of other people have. And so that was quite a big thing to put that out there. But I think that's been important, very important.
Mm-hmm. Where in particular have you it seems as though you aren't hesitant to fight for what you believe in. Is this a path that you comfortably go down, or does it set you back a little bit sometimes? Or
I'll probably get emotional about this one too, Gabby. You ask good questions. My mum often tells this story when she was very, very little. And it was like, I don't know, the maths teacher in WA at whatever Perth school she went to, or the English teacher or something. And one student said, Mrs. Whatever, what does tenacity mean? And apparently the teacher said, Jackie Rees, stand up. And my mum stood up and the teacher said, that is tenacity. So I learnt that from my mum, and she's an unbelievably tenacious woman. So I'm definitely gifted to have got that push and that drive from my mum. But it is a fight, Gabby. It is a fight. And sometimes you develop an idea or a thought or response to government policy, and you engage in a moment of advocacy, whether that be putting out a media release in response or doing an interview about it, and you're the stakeholder giving comments, and you can feel very, very alone. And a part of that is totally natural because I guess I'm representing all the freelancers, and I have tried before to see if, as a little group of freelancers people, we'd all join together. But of course, they're all afraid that they won't get hired, which makes sense. It sucks, but makes sense. So then that just sort of adds to that sense of loneliness, being a lone voice trying to say something that is perhaps not popular. Somebody once told me that whenever you engage in this space, you have to not be afraid to fall off people's Christmas card list. And that's very true, but very hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. But then you still can work through it, and it's still something you want to keep doing?
Sometimes. Well, you have days when you definitely have days when you don't, definitely have days when you don't really want to keep on doing it, and you wonder whether it's worth it. So I don't know if you want to go down this track at all, but just the other day in the lead up to the ACT election here, the other day the ACT Labor Party put out their arts policy, and it's just a continuation of what they're already doing. And I wept. I just wept in response to it. So because you then, I don't know, there's lots of ways to measure impact, like heaps and heaps and heaps of ways. But sometimes when you're trying to advocate for things, you'd like just like really clean, obvious impact. Like you'd like just everybody to listen to you and do what you say.
And have a cool theatre.
Exactly. But when you can't see any progress, that's really, really, really hard. Really hard. And particularly in this space, arts policy is done at all levels. So by all levels, I mean by all jurisdictions. It's just bad. It's just done badly.
Not there to support the arts community.
Most of the arts bureaucrats don't know the full arts community and ecosystem. And if I can use an example, the issues with JobKeeper, during the pandemic. JobKeeper missing out huge swathes of the creative economy. Now that's because, bless them, when the Federal Arts Department is asked who... Someone's got their finger on a microphone. When the Federal Arts Department are asked who's in the industry, they say all the people who they already fund. So they see the industry as the subsidised not-for-profit sector. There is an entire commercial arm, kind of like every musician, every band, commercial musical theatre producers, there's a whole other side of the industry. And both sides are all needed, and they're all wicked, and they all do wonderful things. But that's why when you have a world shutting down and a country trying to figure out who's working, those who are doing it as work in the creative industries as a job just got completely missed. Now, you've got all of those subsidised companies and those organisations. So you've got that's the issue with the arts bureaucrats. Then you've got the issues with the arts administrators, those running Sydney Theatre Company and Melbourne Theatre Company. At many different times, they all could have said, we engage X number of freelancers a year. Thanks for our JobKeeper. What should we do about the 12 actors who are going to do that show? And what should we do about the 3 lighting designers? And they could have said that at any time. And they didn't, and they never will. They're happy with their full-time jobs doing the emails. And I know that admin is important. I mean, I try to do as little of it as possible. It's important and essential to keep things going. But all the arts administrators, they're on full-time salaries. So I guess I'm bringing up heaps. That's heaps of points and heaps of stuff. But it's in that kind of environment where we don't get good, detailed, accurate arts policy. And that is like, all of that is, like a multifaceted mess.
Yes, and only the big guns are looked after,
Yeah.
the ones that are up front and centre, but then the rest of the community forgotten about.
Yeah. The foot soldiers, the people who are actually making the work.
Yeah, making the art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, for you, do you keep up with your passion through being on the stage yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
Does that keep reminding you why you keep doing it?
Oh yeah. Because the admin and the producing is just dealing with piles of poo, and admin is ugh. And I do all of it so that I can be on the floor with someone, with an actor that I adore, or working under a director that I adore. I try to make sure that I'm not doing that in a kind of vanity project way. I do try to make sure that I'm careful about that. But that's the stuff that I actually really enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap us up, was there any role? Have there been any roles in particular that drove you as an actor, or decided on what type of actor you were going to be, or your style, or through drama school, and then just that time afterwards, I fell into Shakespeare, which it just happened. But certainly being an actor who enjoys language and enjoys that investigation of language, which you have to do with verse and any heightened text, certainly that happened through the sort of Shakespeare stuff that I kept landing. And it's funny because I remember being like, I want to do new plays, I want to be in new work. That's what I want to do. But you sort of, you on that treadmill, you sort of kind of go in certain directions. And that has then definitely pushed and shaped, because you have to do so much technique for that. That's definitely pushed, that's informed, everything afterwards. But then at the same time, Marilyn Monroe, she is kind of is she what you are quite well known for, especially here in Canberra?
Yes. Oh, I didn't answer the question properly. Is that what happened? I should have spoken. Oh,
no, not at all. It's just, it hadn't come to my mind. I loved the Shakespeare one. But
yes.
But then that's just what made me think.
Of course.
Marilyn as well. You seem to be both. So your love of language gives you Shakespeare, but then what is it about Marilyn's character that speaks to you?
I did start some of that work before drama school, but then just to touch on those things I was saying before, how you've got other people, when you're at drama school, you've got other people telling you, increase your range over here, and did you know that you better do this as for your practice and for your craft. I had remember this like amazing lightning bolt moment when I realized, they're saying that I need to access my vulnerability just in the way that Marilyn does or did. And it was like, and then I remember that was such an important access point for me. And then all the teachers were like, yes, very good, Lexi, yes, very, very, very good. So in my mind, I was like, thanks, Marilyn. And I guess that's that connection there. Some people talk about actors being like childlike, or there's lots of different words and lots of different ways to describe it. But for me, it's like being Marilyn-like. So she has no barriers. She has no walls up. She is so present, vulnerable, available, like this little sponge, just sponging everything up. And that's the kind of attitude for acting, or that's just what landed for me. And so that's why she's important for me. Because of that lightning bolt thing, and it just helped everything just plop into place. And then literally everyone was like, oh yes, that's good, very good, like very good. And I was like, okay, great.
Oh, I got that one.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like instant. I shouldn't, but I certainly, it opened a door. And then lots of other things were able to keep falling into place, and I was able to keep working in that direction. And so that's why she's a bit special.
Yes. And when you first played the role here in Canberra, that was a one-woman show, right?
No, the very first one was in a stage version of The 7-Year Itch, which most people know as the film with the white dress. Then I did a 4-person show, and I did the 1-person show in London. So it's sort of been like play, cabaret, which was really just her songs. And then I turned it into the 1-person show. And then it's had, the 4-person one has had a couple of iterations after that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, there we go. Well, ending on that high.
Goodie.
Thank you so much for sharing a lot with me. A lot of yourself and a few tears.
Yes. Sorry about that.
No, thank you for being vulnerable with me.
Yes, there you go. That's Marilyn. That's how as I understand it. Yeah. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you very much.
All the best with the Mill Theatre.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this beautifully bold conversation with Lexi Sekuless. From reclaiming the power of performance to building culture one story at a time, Lexi reminds us that creativity isn't exactly a luxury. It's a force for connection, courage, and community. If her words resonated with you, don't keep them to yourself. Share this episode. Better than that, though, go and support a local production and create something of your own. Because art does not live on the sidelines. It lives within us. Thanks for sharing a cup of blueberry tea with us today. I will see you next time for another story worth sipping to.